it will probably cost $800,000 to build, and with engineering and for design and construction administrations, legal and fiscal services, it is anticipated the project cost to be $990,000, about $1 million. At this point in time, the Public Facility Authority, the PFA, the state funding agency, has budgeted $1.5 million for the project, and not every project that requested funding could be funded by PFA. It's all in competitive basis, but your project is currently ranked 52 among 380 projects, which is very good. There's no doubt that your project will be funded by the agency. Presently, the interest rate that provided by PFA is still in the record low. They typically have an interest rate of 1.5 points less than the prime rate, and I believe the prime rate is currently at like 3.25, something like that. And you may get additional discount in addition to 1.5 points of discount. So there's no doubt that this is a good time to take advantage of the record low interest rate loan. Your project is also eligible for a grant. It's called TMDL. TMDL stands for Total Maximum Daily Load. Don't worry about the acronyms, but what it is this is the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, in order to encourage communities to solve the priority pollutants issues in the receding streams. They're giving out this grant. Okay, the amount of the grant will be determined by the MPCA after the submissions of the plan and specifications. So at this point in time, I could not give you any figures of how much they would consider. It is also on a competitive basis. So every year, a certain amount of grant will be allocated for TMDLs. The MPCA will go through everybody's request and determine who will get funded. Okay, and your project is eligible for that, which is very good. I would say only less than 20% of projects are eligible for TMDL, and you're one of them. Okay. To give you an idea of the potential impact to your sewer rate, if you look at the slides, number 3 on the list, City of Rushford, you currently have 1781 populations. Again, that number wasn't updated. I copied this figures from your facility plan, so it's a few years old, and at this present time, your customer is paying on average $23.28 for sewer, for wastewater.
That's for 4,200 gallons.
That's for 4,200 gallons. That's correct. And with the phase 1 improvements, okay, if you look at this row here, assuming there's no money coming out of your current reserve, and by the way, you currently have about $400,000 a sewer fund reserve, and I have to congratulate you. Your staff has done a good job of diligently set aside some money for repair and replacing the aging infrastructures. So that's good. But this projection, it does not take into account of using any of that money, and also assuming that you will be continuing to set aside roughly, correct me if I'm wrong, pretty close to $100,000, isn't it? $100,000 a year that the city has been set aside for sewer fund reserve. So this is assuming that nothing changed with your current situations. There's a potential of the $5 per household per month of sewer rate impact. And this is a conservative number. The calculation was based on the 5% interest rate, and as I mentioned before, we're anticipating your interest rate on PFA is going to be less than 2%. If the city would use some of your reserve toward the project and reduce the amount of reserve that you put into the sewer fund each year, it will minimize the impacts to the sewer rate. So I would encourage the city, at some point in time, when we're ready to do the project, there will be another rate analysis that it is required to develop a strategy to minimize the impact to the sewer rate. And if I can have you bring up the issue of South Rushford a little bit here. You probably noticed the city of Rushford is paying quite a bit less than what your residents are paying. And the reason for that is because they operate their own sewer and collection system. Okay, so the only services that the city is providing that they're paying is the wastewater treatments. And so this table has been presented to them as well, that they could potentially see an increase, $5 per month of increase, and so they are aware of this potential impact.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Are they pumping the lift station more often?
During the spring, fall, when there is an I&I, we notice an increase. But in a purposely pumping increase, no.
Is it still in crowd our total maximum daily load?
Yeah, we're still up there high. I mean, because that's a long line, and it's been a lot of years since that's been cleaned, so there's a lot of growth in there, and there's some issues.
And the village recognizes that they have higher issues, and they're in the process of developing a plan to mitigate the issues. But at the same time, they also recognize that the wastewater that they pump to your facilities apparently carrying more loading in terms of the organic matters, solids. They carry more loading than what they were allocated for. In other words, in your original contract, you allocate a certain amount of capacity to them, and in terms of the organic loading, they have exceeded that, and so they recognize that problems. Compared to other communities in the regions, even with the phase 1 upgrades, I think your sewer rate is still in the midst of the competitive range among other communities. And again, this information is a few years old. I don't know if Utah or Canyon has done any recent upgrade. If they do, they could have increased their sewer rate as well. But just as a comparison, you can tell that the city of Rushford and the South Rushford, after the phase 1 upgrade, is still in a very competitive range.
The other goes into St. Charles. They're with Dover,